What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Eli Roth film, Death Wish. Death Wish is directed by Eli Roth, stars Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Dean Norris, and tells the story of a father who lives in Chicago as a doctor, and when a break-in goes wrong and his wife is murdered and his daughter is hospitalized, he decides to take the law into his own hands. This movie is, of course, based on the 1970s classic starring Charles Bronson of the same basically title and story. Now, Eli Roth, for those who don't know, is kind of a director and actor who some people have a lot of respect for and others have not a lot of respect for. He's someone who makes films that normally fall into this sort of horrorcore, like really bloody, violent, but also semi-lighthearted. Like they don't take themselves very seriously, even though the content they are talking about is extremely serious. And this film sort of falls not so much into that because it's not a horror film, it's not scary. It's much more in the grindhouse genre, sort of like a hobo with a shotgun, a machete, something like that, and I think that that is very important to know before you see this film. So, obviously in a movie like Death Wish, the most important thing is probably the action, and I would say that the action in this movie is solid. It actually feels somewhat realistic. Not overly realistic, but at least a little realistic, and that's not something I expected from Eli Roth. The movie's not overly gory, it's bloody enough that I think it hit the mark. It surprisingly reached that sweet spot where it was like, this is enough blood and violence that I'm into it, and it's not like overdoing it to where it feels excessive and over the top, which Eli Roth is known for, but it also wasn't like underselling it like a lot of movies do, where I'm like, this just doesn't feel real because there's literally no blood or anything. And I think that he found the real sweet spot there in terms of the blood and gore and the violence of this film, because it's not overdone, it's not in the film too much, it's there just enough. The story is obviously extremely simple, there's not too much depth to it, it's mad dad shoots guys, but it's enjoyable, and I think that that's what's most important about the story of this film. It also took some cool ways of sort of incorporating social media and the news and their coverage of it that actually felt like something that you would really see if someone started doing this. And then the last thing is that I want to give props to Eli Roth for his direction. There are a lot of directors that get handed way bigger budgets than this movie got given that are film action way worse than this movie does. This movie handles the action really well. It's very clean, it's very straightforward, it's open, wide shots or close-ups. There aren't a ton of cuts and edits and craziness. It actually just looked good, and I have to give props to Eli Roth for that. Now, in terms of what's wrong with this film, it's all pretty basic. The movie just isn't that good. Bruce Willis kind of phones it in his performance. There are a few scenes that I'll give him where he really sells it, and then I think as the movie progresses his performance gets better, but in the beginning it's pretty weak. And I also have to attribute that partially to the script of this film that is so bland and boring, it's not even funny. Like, the dialogue sequences sound like nothingness, and it's insanity that you have this plot about a guy who's taking revenge against criminals, yet everything that everyone says just sounds like they're just having a casual conversation about whatever, and none of it has like real impact or energy or anything. It's just very bland in the script, and like I said, the action is solid, the direction's solid, the story is simple, and a simple story works as long as you can give depth to the characters involved in the simple plot, but this film didn't do that. It didn't have the depth or anything, so I think it really missed the mark there. If I'm being totally honest, this isn't a very good movie, objectively, but I saw this movie with a group of friends, and we had a fun time watching it. We had the theater to ourselves, and it was a good time. If you have the opportunity to watch this movie with some friends, you will have a good time. You just can't take a film like this that seriously. Objectively, though, I can't give this movie that great of a rating. I'm gonna give Death Wish a D+. Like I said, if you can get some friends together, check this movie out, you'll have a good time, but honestly, it's probably one that you can wait for it to get put on Netflix before you give it a watch. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Death Wish, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and hope to see you guys later.